This is why you should never talk to strangers. According to Japanese legend, Kuchisake Onna was once a beautiful woman who cheated on her husband. When her husband found out about it, he became full of rage and sliced the corners of her mouth from ear to ear. After she died, she came back as a vengeful spirit who covers her scars with a surgical mask, so she looks entirely normal otherwise. She usually wanders the streets at night with a large pair of scissors or a knife. If you're unlucky enough to be chosen as her victim, she will ask you, "Am I pretty?" If you answer no, she will cut you in half. If you say yes, she will cut your mouth from ear to ear just like her too. But you can survive her by answering her question with something else, like, maybe, I don't know, am I pretty? You can also buy some time by throwing money or hard candies at her, which she will stop to pick up. But others say that if she's chosen you, she will show up to your bedroom and kill you in your sleep. So remember, especially since everyone is wearing a mask nowadays, be careful who you talk to. Ghost stories from around the world. Part 2. The toilet ghost from Japan. There's an urban legend that originates in Japanese schools. If you go to the girls' bathroom on the 3rd floor of the building, then go to the 3rd stall, knock 3 times and say, "Hanako-san, are you there?" You will hear a ghostly voice that replies, "Yes, I am." And you'll see a young girl with a bright red skirt and jet black hair. She'll say she wants to play with you at first, but then she'll reveal a bloody hand and try to drag you to hell through the toilet. Other versions of the story also say that if you summon her, you'll be eaten by a 3-headed lizard as punishment for invading her privacy. Some variations of this urban legend say that she was murdered by her abusive parents, or that she took her own life in a bathroom stall. Others say that her ghost originates back in World War II. She was playing a game of hide and seek in the bathroom with her friends when a bomb fell, collapsed the school, and trapped her inside. If you ever want to wear a wig, don't do what she did. Talia bought a wig one day that didn't fit, but instead of returning it, she did something that quickly became terrifying. She came up with an unusual idea. This was her first mistake. She searched for ways to alter the wig herself. Then she went into her mother's room, took out a sewing kit, and began working. But Talia actually decided to put the wig on first and sew it in front of a mirror. She thought this would make sure the size was perfect. Afterwards, she was actually really satisfied with the result. Then that night, Talia went to take the wig off, but the wig seemed to feel much tighter than before. But she had school early tomorrow, so with one pull, she took the wig off. Then, without looking, she put it in her closet. That night, she woke up to a wet sound ringing in her ear. She tried to go back to sleep, but realized that her dog had come onto her bed. She pet her dog and went back to sleep. It wasn't a big deal. But the next morning, she noticed something strange in her closet. The wig didn't look the way it did before. It was covered in pieces of blood and skin. Then Talia went into the bedroom and turned around. She realized that she had sewn her own scalp into the wig, then ripped it off. In the back of her head, she could see her own skull. Then she realized why there was a wet sound ringing in her ears last night, and she began screaming. This is why you should always check under your bed. Once a young woman on a phone call with her boyfriend went to get her mail at the lobby of her apartment, then went back into her apartment to go to bed. She laid on her bed and started looking through her mail when her phone fell, so she reached down to try and pick it up. She reached her arm out to grab her phone, then noticed a man lying underneath her bed, curled up with his back towards her. She doesn't react, tells her boyfriend over the phone she's going to shower, then hangs up. Then she runs into her bathroom, turns on the shower, locks the door, and jumps out of the 1st floor window. Once she ran across the street, she calls the police. The police arrives pretty quickly, goes into her house, and comes out with a deranged-looking man in handcuffs. One of the police officers then walks towards her, clearly shocked and horrified by what he just found out, and said, "We found him standing outside of your bathroom holding a knife. He was waiting for you."
So I have this really funny story time about how someone attempted to rob me at the bank. So the customer comes in, he comes to my station, and he passes me this note. First sign I should have known something was wrong. He passes me the note, and I open it, and it says, "Give me $5,000 or I'm gonna go NWA on your ass." I didn't know what NWA meant. So I look at him, I'm like, what does NWA mean? And then he just looks at me, he's like, "Just give me the $5,000. So then I ask him, I say, "Please swipe your debit card." Like, at this point, I should have known he didn't have an account with us, but I'm like, "Sir, like, I can't give you money unless you swipe your card. Like, I can't access your account. You don't have your ID. Like, you have to swipe your card." So then he looks at me, he's like, "I don't have an account here. You have to take it out of 50 Cent, Kanye West account. I don't care whose account you gotta take it out of. You gotta give me $5,000. So I go get my manager. And after my manager's like, "If you don't have an account here, we can't help you." He looks at me dead in the eyes and says this: "If you don't give me $5,000, I'm gonna go home, grab my gun, come here, and shoot you both in the..." So after he said he's gonna shoot us in the face, my manager looks at me and she's like, "Go to the back right now." So on my way to the back, I'm hitting every single panic button I know that we have, and I'm just thinking, like, what just happened? So we're sitting in the back looking at the monitors, and he's standing there. We call the police, we call corporate, and it's been good 20 minutes before the SWAT is surrounded by the bank building, and the guy is sitting there by himself. We evacuated everyone else in the bank. We're all in the back office, and he's sitting there. Not sitting there, he's standing at the teller station where we left him. So then the SWAT team calls us, and they gave me the phone because it was my customer, and he's like, what is he wearing? What does he look like? So we give him the description, and like 2 minutes later, they bust in through the doors. Like 50 people come in with all fully loaded rifles, everything, and they put this guy down and they arrest him. I have to assume that he was under the influence, because why else would you stay at a bank you're trying to rob after we all go into hiding? But yeah, we all had to get psychologically evaluated after. They had therapists for us the next day at work to see if we were clear to come back. It was like a failed robbery attempt that I didn't know was happening.
I met a girl through Plenty of Fish and dated her for a year. She lived 6 minutes up the street from me, so we saw each other quite often. Both of us were quite introverted, so we mainly only hung out with each other. We both considered the relationship to be serious and exclusive. Anyways, right from the start of the relationship, I noticed that she would text this one guy pretty frequently. I asked her about him, and she told me that he was her tattoo artist. Just to be snoopy, I checked out the website of the place she gets her tattoos done. Sure enough, there was a tattoo artist there with the same first name as the guy in her phone. But the last name was different. I asked her about it, and she quickly called me out for being paranoid, and how it was ridiculous to think that she would lie to me. I agreed, it was pretty paranoid of me. Maybe 5 months later into the relationship, I'm on Facebook and I decide to search the name of the guy in her phone. The profile comes up in the same small city we both live in, but there's no profile picture or anything. I decide to bring it up with her again because now there's 2 Facebook profiles. One who is actually the tattoo artist and one who has the same name that is in her phone. She freaks out on me bringing it up again and tells me that I'm crazy. I agreed, but just wanted a straight answer. She told me I had nothing to worry about and I apologized, and we got over it. I downloaded the app again to see if she was on there. Lo and behold, she was. She was out there looking for another guy. I found a profile on the app that might look like hers, but obviously no pictures. I catfished it and it turned out to be her. She was back on Plenty of Fish and looking for guys. I had all the evidence I needed and I was going to confront her with it and break up with her. However, I thought if I'm going to break up with her, I'm going to message the Facebook profile I had found that matched the name of the guy in her phone. He gets back to me immediately. We converse and it turns out that he is her boyfriend. I had been her second boyfriend the entire time. She met him 2 months before she met me. She bounced back between me and him for an entire year. Neither me or him knew about each other. He saw my name in her phone once and she said that I was her tattoo artist. The same excuse she gave me about him. Every time I ever called her out, I was right. Every time she was gone mysteriously at night, she was with him. Every time she said she was hanging out with a friend of hers, she was with him. She didn't actually have any friends. It was always him. So we did what anyone would do. The next morning, we both met her together. Of course, her jaw dropped and we dumped her simultaneously. After that, we went and got a beer together. She played both of us. And whenever my gut feeling told me something was wrong, she gaslighted me and tried to make me look crazy.